The International Indigenous Women's Forum, Femi, believes in learning by doing and the existing cross-fertilisation between practice and theory. Access to more information enables effective participation, and through such participation, capacity building is consolidated. For the second year in a row, the Global Leadership School implemented the program on human rights and international advocacy skills, aimed at women activists and Indigenous leaders from different socio-cultural regions: Asia, Africa, Americas, Arctic and the Pacific. The program seeks to improve their knowledge about international instruments on human rights, Indigenous people's rights, Indigenous women's rights, and advocacy strategies to promote and sustain social change. The participants belong to the Indigenous peoples from around the world. Amidst this diversity, participants share situations and problems at international level and other kinds of conflicts with governments, states, industries, and extractive companies. Training sessions were conducted in 3 phases. The first started in February and consisted in facilitating online learning through a virtual platform, where participants documented and analysed key writings as an introduction to gain in-depth knowledge on relevant human rights instruments. Some of these instruments were the International Labour Convention 169, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the Convention to Eliminate All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, United Nations Frameworks, Convention on Climate Change, among others. They also learnt about other UN systems and mechanisms that directly involve the actions of organised Indigenous peoples. During the virtual phase, each participant developed an advocacy plan grounded in these international instruments, aimed at promoting changes in community settings at a national and international level. In the second face-to-face stage, participants met in New York City on May the 7th to the 16th, 2014. During the first week, they strengthened their theoretical and analytical skills in seminars held at the United Nations headquarters and in Columbia University through the Institute for the Study of Human Rights, Indigenous Peoples' Rights Program, in order to provide a complementary human rights curriculum under the guidance of Femi. This gave the opportunity to explore a broader context of human rights topics and advocacy. The seminar covered the following topics: the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues and Strategies for Optimal Participation, CEDAW and CSW, Technologies for Activism, Negotiation and Advocacy Skills, the Case of the World Conference on Indigenous Peoples, Human Rights and International Law, and Indigenous cinema as an element of advocacy.
Some feel intersection, well, it parts us, you know, it takes us and makes us into pieces, and we really don't connect. And some say it should be, I'm connected with all of it, I'm all of it. I can't be sectioned off.
In addition, within the frame of their participation at the Global School, women leaders attended the 13th session of the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. The special theme for this session was Principles of Good Governance consistent with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, Article 3-6 and 46. The group formulated recommendations regarding Indigenous women's issues, including 2 interventions. Further, they organised and convened a side event where they used their own experiences, progress and challenges on 2 basic topics: good governance and violence against Indigenous women. Furthermore, the group arranged a meeting with the UN Women Deputy Director, Lakshmi Puri, where they discussed the need for an overall institutional policy to guide the agency's work with Indigenous women in the world. Finally, to close the second phase of the 2014 International Programme, the participants attended the 2014 Femi Leadership Awards ceremony, where the work of Mrs. Joan Carling from the Philippines and Rosalina Turak from Guatemala was honoured for each leader's contribution to the rights of Indigenous women. Finally, the third phase is the implementation and monitoring of the advocacy plans at a local, national and regional level. The entire program will be completed by August 30th. 47 Indigenous women have participated in the Global Leadership School, showing great commitment and responsibility. Participants continue to weave a network of organisations from different regions that make up Femi. Femi affirms that empowerment and leadership can be acquired through the implementation of processes that combine participation, capacity building and organisational strengthening.